Coming up on the Just Fantasy Baseball podcast, we talked about who's hot, who's not, and we kind of focused specifically on one division in the Major League Baseball that is both hot and not at the same time. We'll explain. Also, we gave you headlines in the injury report. There's a lot of big headlines, none as big as the prospects for the Baltimore Orioles. So tie that in together. You like how I did that? Plus, we updated you on mine and Vince's fantasy baseball, and we answered your mailbag questions. So a whole lot to do. Loaded episode. All that and more coming up next. Baseball podcast. My name is Rami Lavi. That is Vince D'Amato. Today is Thursday. It is April 4th. We got another episode for you guys. Our first midweek episode of the podcast together, and I'm excited to do it. Vince, how are you doing?
Good. It's our first mid-season episode. Yeah, right. We've done
that's kind of what I meant.
Sorry.
Yes.
No. Yeah. I was just yes. I'm excited. We finally got some,
sure.
That's what I'm about. We got some updates about our own leagues, just some check-ins with those. I mean, obviously it's only been a week, so not a whole lot of new stuff, but finally have something new. So we're gonna grasp at straws here and go with what we have. So yeah, the breakdown.
Well, we're playing each other, which is great. That works out well in week one. I guess you wrote something in to the commissioner and kind of hooked that up for us. So that works out well.
I am the commissioner.
I know. That's the joke.
It wasn't funny.
I thought it was funny. Jesus Christ. Wow. You're in a good mood today. All right. So let's start here. A guy who we both hated on this podcast and said he was worthless was now sent down to the minor leagues. And as we kick off our headlines, he's the number one headline. Now, he wasn't that bad. He shouldn't have been sent down to the minors, which is why we put on our conspiracy theory hat. He was supporting the company that is basically anti the Oakland A's, and everyone who has supported that company on the A's has either been traded or cut or sent down. And he was sent down. We do have a mailbag question about this later, so I'll save it for our mailbag part of the episode. But Estudio Ruiz sent down to the minor leagues. What is your take? Do you believe in the conspiracy theories? I do. What do you got?
Yeah. The company that you were mentioning, so they wear, you maybe have seen the pictures. They have wristbands from baseball's last dive bar, which is described, according to the owner, he describes it as a company of fans that celebrate the history of the Oakland Coliseum and the fan experience of the Coliseum. So you can understand how that thought process might butt heads with the current ownership. I don't know if I believe in the conspiracy necessarily, but it is kind of fun to think about. And, we talked about this around draft time, right? Why draft a guy? I mean, we thought he was going to just play every day because the team was so bad, but it just takes one thing to go wrong. And in this case, it happened to be playing time, one of the things that we thought was safe, but Ruiz was being drafted around like pick 150. Like, that's a high draft pick to spend on a guy who is a one-trick pony. And, obviously now we won't see that trick for the foreseeable future. Nobody knows when he's coming back up. It was kind of odd too, because he started off, he had a good first series. So just kind of a weird situation all around with the Oakland A's right now, and this added to it.
And it's odd because it's not like they have anyone better to play instead of him. They're the freaking Oakland A's. They don't have anyone there. So that's just a weird one for me. Another headline, and I want to get your opinion on this, I don't know if you saw this, was Luis Severino. They changed a hit in his first start. Did you see this?
No.
From his first start, they changed one of his hits that he gave up in the first inning to an error, and it actually removed 3 earned runs from his ERA. And if you own Luis Severino, you may have seen that all of a sudden, without a start, your ERA dropped like that in your league. And that's because Luis Severino got 3 runs taken off of his stat sheet from his first start of the season.
Good for him. I did notice
3 days later. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I haven't, it hasn't been updated on Fantrax, so it might take a little while. But the one thing I did notice is it says he gave up 12 hits. I thought it was 11. But I know there was only 1 extra base hit, right? Or it was a home run and a double. So maybe that's the 12 one. There was 10 singles. So it was just kind of like an interesting game, like from a stats perspective. Like the BABIP was extremely high. I wouldn't expect starts like this from Severino moving forward. I'm not saying he's going to be, a stud, but 10 singles just feels like kind of You don't do that
Fluky.
unless you're
Yeah.
fluky, unless you're Kyle Freeland or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know who would say to start him or stream him. That was stupid of whoever would say that. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Or Clay Holmes, who just gives up every hit, is just a dribbler ground ball, but they all go through the hole. So
yeah. I just wanted to point that out too. But no, I did not see that. That is good news because I have Severino on a team, so I'll be watching for my ERA drop.
yeah, well, Fantrax is obviously not the best platform for fantasy,
Right.
and I learned that, but I was going to save it for later in the episode, so we'll get to that a little bit later. The other thing, and I think this is the biggest headline, for me, the start from Garrett Crotchet. I think is how you crochet.
Yes, Crotchet.
I was just I call him the crotch guy, but I think I texted you that today. The crotch guy on Chicago is what I said.
Yeah,
that dude is ridiculously good. Did anyone see this coming? Is he the biggest sleeper right now in fantasy? Some leagues you could have picked him up off waivers last week. Now he's 2 starts in, and he looks like he might be one of the best pitchers in fantasy baseball. Can he keep this up?
Yeah, he could certainly be one of the guys that was off everyone's radar. These kinds of guys pop up all the time. He was kind of off radar
every year, and this is why we talked about like not drafting super high with starting pitchers, because Garrett Cole gets hurt and then the crotch guy shows up out of nowhere. Like, come on.
Yeah, the only problem that I have with Garrett Crochet, and this is one I talk about all the time, is just durability. He has never thrown more than 55 innings in his professional career, and he threw 54 in 2021 and then less than 20 in the last 2 years. Like, I just don't know where these innings are going to come from. Like, is he even going to get close to 100? Like, I would be shocked, and what do the White Sox have to play for? Really nothing. So maybe they'll just trot him out until he dies, or maybe they'll try to save him. I have no idea what their plans are. So that'll just be an interesting thing to watch. But that being said, he did phenomenal against the Braves. Like, that's something to at least consider. I have a buddy who texted me earlier today as well, and I told him to kind of avoid Crochet in the long term, and he's like, "Look at this. Why would you say?" And so I had to take an L there too. Been taking a lot of those with some of my pitching streams lately, but that happens, and we'll see. I don't know if I anticipate Crochet, doing this forever. So enjoy it while it lasts, I think, and ride the hot hand.
I took a massive dub with Luis Gil going into the desert and dominating against the Diamondbacks. And by the way, for Gil, like, I don't know how much of that game you watch. I'm a Yankee fan. I watched the game. Dude is pumping easy 100. Like, you could tell when a guy is not even putting effort. Like, it looked like DeGrom almost, like when he throws 100 and it's just kind of smooth and easy out of his hand. And this is another guy who already had Tommy John surgery. So maybe there's something in common with those guys who are throwing that quote easy 100. Their body can't keep up with it, but he doesn't even look like he's trying. He doesn't look like he's putting a ton of effort in, and it's just smooth 100 miles an hour. Unbelievable to see from him. The other thing I want to point out, this is more just to rip on you, but you see the Cubs uniforms and their pyrotechnics. So the uniforms, they finally wore their home uniform for the first time. Some of them have this C on the right sleeve. Some of them have it on the left sleeve. I don't think that's on purpose. That's a Fanatic special right there. And it's really just dumb. Like fixing the size of the letters. Like, this is going to be a hot take. Major League Baseball uniforms are outdated, period. Like, baseball uniforms are outdated. Like, they're wearing a button-down shirt in 90-degree heat in August. Like, it's ridiculous. And long pants. It is stupid, But they were invented. We're using jerseys that are supposed to look like the same uniforms that were invented in 1905. When everyone who was at the game in the stands was wearing a suit and a tie and a hat. You know what I mean? So, like, it doesn't make sense.
What would you have them wear? What would you have them?
That's the thing. I don't know what you would have them wear at this point.
Like a spandex suit?
Yeah. I'm kind of just waiting for the Savannah Bananas to come up with something cool for them to wear. Sure. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So anyone who's like super mad about the uniforms, it's like, well, baseball uniforms are kind of like outdated as it is, but the letters seems like just such an easy fix. Like, just make the letters a normal size and they would look so much better. Like the letters and the numbers, if they were just a little bit bigger and placed properly, that feels like that doesn't cost you anything to do that, and that would be easy. But what's worse than that is putting the names on the wrong side. And then it was just funny watching them jog out in these terrible uniforms, and they have these two little like flare things. I don't even know what they are, like firework flare things. And when we're on our call yesterday, I kind of compared it to like kind of like an old dude jizzing. Like that's the best way I could put it. Sorry. It's like kind of like a little bit at a time, like
Like you're expecting it to
yeah,
explode, and you just
yeah,
get a
it
little.
does not. And now I don't know what that looks like. I've been told though. So,
Yeah, no, I
Jesus
agree with
Christ.
you.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
even
go ahead.
mentioned they brought up, just back to the uniforms real quick too. They were talking about it in the broadcast, like during the Cubs game yesterday when they won 12-2. They look like what's like what was the word he used? I can't remember what the word Boog used, but kind of like the jerseys you
Say
buy at a
boob?
store, like cheap. Yeah, they 100% look cheap. They don't look like professional uniforms. They just
No,
look
they look like the ones
poorly
that you
done.
buy on like AliExpress or like one of these
Mhm.
knockoff sites, which is, by the way, I said the biggest winner in all these things are the people who buy the knockoff jerseys. Cause then I
Yeah,
was like,
right.
I'll buy the knockoff jersey and it'll look better than the
It'll looks
real thing.
better.
Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always one of those people who's like, the knockoff jersey always looks a little off. Now they look off. So the knockoff so if your point was to get more money, like in jersey sales fanatics, you're actually going to lose money because now everyone's like, fuck this. I could just go buy the knockoff jersey and it'll look better. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. And then the pyrotechnics was just, I have no words for that. You hit it on the head. It was embarrassing. Feel kind of bad for Shota, right? He came out and that's what he came out with. But it must have worked. Maybe there was some magic there. I don't know, because he shoved. He had an absolutely
Oh, yeah.
great game. So happy to see that.
Did you hear about the new Oriole ownership after their first game? I just saw this.
Mhm.
The new owner walked into a bar and he's like, "Hey, I'm the new owner." I probably into
Yep.
pickles. I assume it was pickles. Hey, I'm the new owner. This is my buddy. Round of beers on us. We're so
Yeah.
like that's how you ingratiate yourself to a fan base. Like Steve Cohen with his stupid like antics. We're gonna put a giant screen in center field and give you freaking dancers. Like, no, go buy everyone a beer after the game at a bar. Now there are no bars next to Citi Field, so Steve Cohen is building bars. Maybe then he could buy people beers. And my friend actually had a great idea. Shout out Max. He had an idea today. We were talking, and he was saying how like baseball stadiums right now are empty, and it's so stupid. You're playing these day games on the weekdays, and the stadiums are empty, and it just looks bad for the league. Like you should just announce like 20 minutes before game time, like, hey, anyone who comes to the ballpark right now, if you come right now, if you like, we'll give you a free ticket to any seat in section 500 in like the top section. Just fill the seats a little bit and you'll get the money back anyway that you weren't selling those tickets. You'll get the money in concessions, if nothing else. You know what I mean? Like you'll gain that money in concessions. And it'll also make a vibe at the ballpark where now people, if this starts happening like once every 2 weeks, the team starts doing this. And again, these are seats you're not selling anyway. All of a sudden, people are going to start congregating and tailgating outside the ballpark, like expecting this to happen. And then if it doesn't happen, they'll be like, oh, okay, I guess we're here anyway. We might as well just buy last minute tickets and go in. I feel like it would create just a better vibe for baseball.
I would,
And the best way to get people into the game is to get them to the game.
if I had bought a ticket though and I saw these people getting in for free, I'd be a little disappointed or upset.
So
So
that's what I said. So anyone in
right.
the 500 section. So this is what I said. If you bought lower down, you bought lower down. Sorry. But anyone who bought a ticket in the 500 section gets a $5 concessions value, gets concessions.
Okay, gets like some sort of
Yeah,
all right.
$5 to concessions per ticket. And that way it's even better. So now I'm going in. I could easily spend it's $4 for a water at the concessions at Yankee
At
Stadium
least I was
or
going to say
Citi
it's
Field.
more than
Right,
that. I
exactly.
think in Chicago, yeah.
So right. So you're going to spend more than $5 anyway. So it's perfect. So we get again, the people in the lower sections, there's no reason to compensate them at all. Like, why are we compensating you? You bought a more expensive seat. We're giving these people 500 sections tickets. You know what I mean?
Maybe this is just a New York thing, because I don't know if you saw the Cubs game last night. There was a moment in, was it the 7th inning when the Cubs are up 10-2 and it's freezing cold? Like it was a cold game yesterday. And the fans are all chanting when Cody Bellinger's up and they're going, Cody. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
he's having a
And
great
then he
start.
hit
Look,
a
I mean, hey, did you see out in
bomb, like,
Arizona? Did you see out in
beautiful.
Arizona today? The day game, it's 90 degrees out there, beautiful weather, and the whole Arizona's chanting Volpe, Volpe, because there's all Yankee fans out there. I don't know if you saw it. It looked
No.
incredible.
Did he hit a home run?
No, there was this
Oh.
one picture, but the Yankees won. And by the way, one of my headlines: "Welcome to the season, Aaron Judge. Welcome, nice of you to join us. An RBI double and a 2-run homer. So very nice of Aaron Judge to join the baseball season. Only a week late, but he's here. He's arrived. And no, there was a shot, a beautiful picture that Marcus Stroman posted on Twitter, actually, of you see the whole Yankee dugout celebrating, and everyone behind them is all Yankee fans in Arizona today, like
That's
fired up
cool. Yeah.
after the Judge home run, I think it was, or sorry, after the Verdugo home run in extra
No way
innings.
he hit a home run. Wow.
Who?
Wait, oh, Verdugo?
Yeah.
I th-
What are you talking about?
oh wow. I didn't realize he hit a home run today.
Verdugo he hit a
Yeah,
two-run
I see
bomb.
it. Yeah.
He
I
crushed it.
thought he was just destined to be mediocre forever. Good for
Nah,
him.
I mean, it's weird what's going to happen when everyone's back healthy on that team and they have the full outfield. We'll see what happens. But yeah,
Right.
he hit a bomb.
Good for
So
him.
good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any headlines before we get to our injuries?
No, I'm ready to go. Let's dive into him.
So the first two injuries I want to hit, because I never root for injury. You know, I'm a good guy, but these just made me feel good. I'm just happy
Don't say
about
that.
these. Royce Lewis and Josh Jung. I mean, how many people in the fantasy baseball expert like world, people who consider themselves like yourself to be a fantasy baseball expert, savant, were just creaming themselves to these guys before the season, and seems to be a theme on this episode. Anyway, they and now
Oh, where's your mind at tonight?
it's late. Like you
Yeah.
record, you realize it's what time it is in Chicago versus what time it is
Hey,
here.
I was ready to go. I mean,
I was waiting for my
You're the
chocolate
slack.
chip cookie to get
Yeah.
here. I had to Uber Eats a chocolate chip cookies. I had dinner and I was like, I need dessert. So I Uber Eats 5 chocolate chip cookies.
But yeah, I was excited for Royce, but I always knew that this was potential.
We
Josh
talked
Young
about
is
it.
a little bit different.
These
Yeah.
guys are
Mhm.
injury prone.
Josh Young feels, I mean, and that's, we talked about this too. Can you call him injury prone for getting hit in the wrist? Maybe, I don't know. But
And this is what we
Royce,
said. Like the person that I brought up is Aaron Judge. Like, oh, he
Mhm.
dove one time and then he ran into a wall and he got hit on the wrist. Yeah, but when these injuries keep happening to you, even if they're all fluke weird injuries, at some point you become injury prone.
yeah, but Royce definitely feels different because his aren't fluke per se. They're muscle, related and knee related. And those are definitely a little more scary. But Royce Lewis, when healthy, we saw it. I mean, two at bats. He had a home run and a single in his first two at bats of the season. That's like he is, and I don't say it lightly. He is MVP candidate. Like if he played a fully healthy season, and so yeah, that's why we were creaming our pants, is because if this dude even puts together 120 games, like this is like Corey Seager from last year. Like Corey Seager didn't play a full season, yet he was still in MVP discussion, and he still had a
It
phenomenal
was like
year.
Mike
So
Trout every year of his prime, where he'd play like 130 games, and it's like, well, his numbers are good enough for him to win MVP anyway.
that's pretty much what we're looking at here. And so, yes, that's why we were so excited. Josh Young, I wasn't as excited for Josh Young. I think he's got a lot of power. He hits in a good lineup, but he was still going a little too high for me. But a lot of other people, yes, you're right. We're all over him.
Well, good
Sad.
thing you wore. Well, good thing you wore your white pants to this episode. Anyway,
Yeah, it's sad. It's very sad.
yeah.
And, yeah.
Any other big injuries you wanted to hit on?
Nothing that I noticed since last time. No.
Okay.
Well, I have some prospect injuries, but we can get to those in the
That will be part of our prospect
report.
report.
Mhm.
Good. And we also did have a mailbag question that relates to the prospect report.
Cool.
But first, who's hot and who's not? I have 3 hots, 3 nots, and I could have done more because there's so many guys who are off to a hot start. A couple of guys are off to a poor start. But why don't you kick us off with one of your hots, and then we'll go back and forth.
Sure. So I have 2 hots from the same team, which I'm realizing now, but I don't even care because they've been very, very hot. Well, for 2 guys one guy that I liked. I liked Michael Garcia coming into the season. I think I talked about him a few times. Third baseman for the Kansas City Royals. He might even still be out in some waivers, but he is currently one of the top 3 third basemen, depending on your league. Just absolutely killing it so far. I mean, he's hitting 280, 296 on base, but his slug right now is 800, like slug of 800. He's got 3 home runs, 1 steal. He's hitting leadoff for, an improving Royals team. And the thing that I think sets him apart from a lot of other third basemen is he's got the speed, which, we start to see a little bit more from some third basemen now, but that he's got such a fantasy friendly profile. And for a guy who is going so late in drafts and is still probably available, like the power speed combo is just almost unmatched compared to, like, he's got more speed than Cabrian Hayes. I think he's got more power than Cabrian Hayes. That was a YouTube question that I got earlier today of, do I prefer Hayes or Garcia? I prefer Garcia because there's just more fantasy upside there. And for a guy who's probably in a corner infield spot, maybe he's your starting third baseman, but in that territory, you can't get much better than that. I'm excited for Maikel Garcia, and I think by this time next year, he will be in that, top 15, the startable range for third baseman.
Yeah, the Royals have been hot up and coming, like you said. My first one, who's been hot as well, Christian Yelich, and maybe not the full resurgence. This was a guy who I said when we were doing our best ball draft, I was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it with this guy. He's 6 for 15 so far. It's a 400 average. He's on base 471. His slugging, by the way, is 800 as well, as he has 2 home runs, 4 runs scored, 3 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases early in this season. Christian Yelich is off to a hot start for the Milwaukee Brewers, and he is my first hot. And the only question is, and this was one of the mailbag questions, might as well hit it now. Can he keep this up? Is he officially back? Is this the Yelich we can expect, the MVP Yelich for so many years, or is this just a hot stretch?
Yeah, he's not going to be MVP, but I certainly think we can expect pretty good, consistent production across the board. I mean, he's not going to bring back MVP numbers, but certainly top 100, maybe even top 50 numbers. Yeah, that's why I think I questioned it when we were in our draft. You said you didn't like Yelich. I was like, why not? Like, he's put together a couple solid seasons since he's kind of put the injuries past him a little bit. Definitely a guy that for a while people thought was injury prone, right? But he's put those behind him, and yeah, he looks good. And that whole Brewers team looks good so far.
Yeah, who's your second hot?
My second hot, same team. I'm going to go behind the dish / first base. And full disclosure, this is a guy I was not in on to start the year. I did not draft him anywhere. I was so off him. And that is Salvador Perez. He started off the year 0 for 7. So I took a 2-game victory lap. But since then, he has gone 9 for 17 in his last 4 games with 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. And
I wanted to use him just to stick it to you, but yeah, continue.
He is the number 1 catcher right now. There's no doubt about it. And he's going to get full-time playing time. If he's not catching, they want him at first base. He played first base once. He'll probably slot in a DH. Is this sustainable for a whole season? I don't know, but I'm leaning towards the no, but enjoy it while you can. And, he obviously looks like he's locked in. So go get some Salvador Perez if he's still out there.
Yeah. My second one is a guy who the fantasy experts loved coming into the season, and he's paying dividends so far. That's Spencer Steer. What a season this dude has had. And obviously he hits the grand slam. It's his only home run, right? But he's 9 for 19. That's a 474 batting average, 737 slugging, 524 on base is ridiculous. He has a stolen base. He has 5 runs scored, 9 hits is ridiculous. This guy, of all the Cincinnati Reds that you talked about, he's really been the only one that's actually been playing up to that standard so far. But my God, is he playing well so far on the season?
Do you have a little Midwest bias? Am I rubbing off on you? No pun intended again.
Wow, that's 2 guys from the NL Central. Jesus
Hopefully,
Christ.
maybe I should have waited for your third one. Maybe your third guy is AL Central or NL Central.
No, he's not. Sorry. But I will say this: those 2 guys, Steer, I drafted him. I made sure to get him in my other league, my main league, the auction league, because of what you said on our podcast. And thank you, I guess, because you were definitely right.
My last hot, I didn't even realize I did this too. I'm on the AL Central for my hot. I am trying not. Well, I will say I had Luis Campusano on here, but I took him off. Who's another one I had? Oh, well, that was in the not section. But anyways, my last hot is I went with a pitcher here, Shane Bieber.
Anything to do with him being on your fantasy team?
A little, maybe.
Yeah.
It also has to do with when him being one of the top 5 starters right now. Yeah, he was a guy that people were down on. They expected MVP numbers for the last couple of years, and he didn't deliver. But I think a big part of it was this offseason. He brought his fastball velocity back up. And so I don't know if you've seen his last two starts, or his first two starts, I should say, but in his first two starts, he's gone 6 innings in both of them, and he's had 11 strikeouts and 9 strikeouts in those two. So 20 Ks in 12 innings. He's had 1 walk. He's got a 44% strikeout rate so far. Like, obviously that's not sustainable, but clearly this increased fastball velo is working for him. And I'm excited for Shane Bieber. If you bought him, at all this season, I think you're going to get your money's worth and some.
Yeah, this is a guy who, another one of those guys who has been at the top of his game at points in his career, has been one of the best pitchers in the league. There's no reason to think he can't be that level again. Now, I was going to go Freddie Freeman. I felt that was too chalk, and it was kind of going to be a direct shot at you because I have him in that one league where I love him in my main league. And then obviously I didn't get him. He's been so I was going to go Freddie Freeman on one side, and I was going to put Jose Ramirez on the other side. I'd be like, see what's happening here. See why I wanted Freeman over Ramirez, but whatever. It's early. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to go Nick Pivetta. 0.82 ERA through 2 starts, 13 strikeouts in 11 innings pitched, and a 0.82 whip. He has a win on the year. He's been awesome so far. Not a chalk guy, not one of those guys you expected to be awesome. I don't know if Nick Pivetta can keep this up. I doubt he can, but he's been freaking awesome so far this season.
Yeah, I like to call out. I was watching a little bit of his start today, or not today. I'm sorry, whenever it was. I'm thinking of Nate Eovaldi, but I think
Eovaldi dominated today, 7 innings, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's two guys. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they were on the Red Sox, I think, at the same time. Do you ever have 2 guys that you just mix up sometimes, even if they're not similar in many ways?
I do.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Pivetta and Eovaldi are those 2 guys for me, I think.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. That's totally not, for me, that like it's not that way.
No correlation at all. But
yeah, definitely I have that. I just right now I can't think of anyone. So
that's fine.
But yes, yeah. I definitely have that. My first not hot, and then we'll throw it back to you for yours. Sure. Is a guy who everyone was very high on coming into the season. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not really trying to give you the hottest guy in the league and the least hot guy in the league, because we obviously know the best players in the league are probably playing pretty well, and the worst guys in the league are probably not playing that well. Here's a guy who was supposed to be hot and is not, and it's unfortunate, and I'm kind of annoyed about it, and that is Nolan Jones. Obviously, I have him in our league. I think that's the only league I have him in. But so far, only 3 hits on the season. He's batting 107. His on base is 138, whopping 138. He does have 2 RBIs and 2 runs scored, but not the start. And that team looks like they are absolute trash. They need to get home because we know they smash at home. But not a great start for Nolan Jones and the Colorado Rockies.
You know what's crazy is I've been kind of following. So the Cubs are playing the Rockies right now. The Cubs were up 8-2, and now they're tied 8-8 in the bottom of the 8th. Nolan
Jones does anything?
Nolan Jones he's 1 for 4. So
that's probably one of his 2 hits.
In the 8th inning. Yeah.
Is he still batting? What's his average?
Kind of scary. 186. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, that's what I said. So the numbers I was looking at were updated.
I'm a little scared by
107.
That. We can't lose to the Rockies. That's scary. Anyways, my first cold, and you'll like this one because it shows. I don't know. You can tell me what it shows. My first cold is Ellie De La Cruz.
I was going to put him on there. I didn't. Did you see his?
I know it's chalk,
almost lackadaisical play, like with the flipping the glove,
the defense,
and Ellie. What are we doing?
I don't know what his thing is right now. I feel like it's all mental, but so far, and I guess now he's got 24 at bats. But in 22, when I wrote this down originally, he had 12 strikeouts and 22 at bats. That's just not going to get it done, right? He's got to fix that strikeout rate. And for a guy who is being drafted, so a lot of people drafted him top 25, like they thought this guy was going to be a, top 10 fantasy player. And he still very well could be, but not only does he strike out way too much, but he's got no home runs so far, which again, small sample, not much going on. And he's 2 for 3 on the bases. So 2 stolen bases is fine. And it's a long season, but this is not good. And the scary thing is, if it continues, is there a chance that they send him down? That's within the realm of possibility of him being sent down. So, if he cannot figure it out, I would not put that past the Reds, especially, we know the Reds want to compete. So we'll see. Maybe send him down for a couple weeks, get his head right, and then bring him back up. We don't know, but Yeah, so far has not been good for Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, keeping it in the NL Central for my second not hot, and that's Christian Encarnacion Strand. Again, another guy on this team. He struck out 9 times, and this is what we talked about. The Reds, of the outside of Spencer Steer, they've been awful. He's batting 192. That's the same as his on base percentage. He does have a home run and 2 doubles, which is kind of crazy. So hopefully he's getting out of it, but he's just swinging and missing too much, right? So the 5 hits is nice. And the fact that 3 of them are for extra bases is cool. And he has 4 RBIs, but you struck out 9 times. And if you strike out 9 times, you're not going to be making enough contact. He's not walking at all, obviously. And that's just not a good sign right now for CES owners and lovers like yourself.
I am a CES owner in many leagues and lover. Yeah, that one has hurt a little bit. My next cold, I went with a couple pitchers for this, but one of my colds also hurts me because I have him on a few teams, and that is Jose Leclerc. I knew drafting him, it
I
might
have him too in one of my leagues. Yep.
not pan out too well, and it has been worse than not too well. 2.2,
Yeah.
2 2/3 innings so far, and 6 walks, 5 earned runs. He's had 3 appearances, 1 strikeout. Just has been horrible. And, there was already a question about whether or not he was going to close games for Texas. It doesn't look like he's going to win the job at this rate. So he's one that, I'm maybe holding on, but I'm certainly not keeping him in my starting lineup for the foreseeable future. And if he continues, even like this for a couple more weeks, he's probably off most of my teams.
So the Cubs just retook the lead.
Did they? Oh, that's awesome. That place is probably nuts right now. Does it say
Suzuki, on a fielder's choice, Ian Happ, and then Mastroboni scored.
I can't believe I'm missing that game right now for this, for you, Rami.
Jesus Christ. You could have told me to wait till after the game. I would have gladly watched the game.
I wouldn't.
I would rather be sitting on the couch watching the game.
Suzuki was almost another one that I
put
was
5 runs
hot,
in the 8th inning to the Rockies.
Yeah.
I know. The Rockies have more wins than the Mets. My last cold is a guy that you have on your team, I think. 4 1/3 innings in his first start, and he gave up 7 runs and 3 strikeouts. That is my man, Aaron Nola. I've never been a big Aaron Nola guy. I always thought he was clearly the second to best pitcher on that team behind Zach Wheeler. He walks a lot of dudes. He's very volatile. He's, kind of he kind of can give up a lot of hits, a lot of home runs, just not a great whip guy generally. And so when he's off, he is off. And his first start was off.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, he walked one guy, so I don't think walks really killed him. And over his career, I don't think they've really been a problem. So I'm not worried about the walks, but I have been listening to some people who follow him, really break down his pitching. And there are some people who are worried. They're raising some red flags. The worry scale is starting to tip. And, I know he just signed a 7-year deal, but that doesn't always relate to performance, right? There's not always a correlation between the deal you sign, Anthony Rendon, and the performance that you put out. So,
oh my God, I just tweeted out today. This is a crazy stat, crazy but true. Last time Anthony Rendon got a hit, Anthony Volpe was in high school. Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts. Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little worried about Aaron Nola. 100%. Does that mean I'm going to drop him? No, probably not, unless he really has some bad starts. Maybe I'll put him on my bench for a while. But don't blame you. I'm a little worried. He goes up against Washington though in a couple days, so hopefully he can right the ship a little bit there. And maybe we just expect some volatility from him moving forward. Maybe he has some really good starts and some really bad starts. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that's a good call out there.
Who's your last cold?
My last cold is someone who I was not in on in the offseason, but I know a lot of people were, and that is AJ Puck for the Miami Marlins. He is a reliever turned starter, and in his first 2 starts, he went 2 and 4 innings and has given up 6 earned runs total in those 6 innings, 9 walks to 6 strikeouts. Just hasn't been a good experiment so far for AJ Puck. I don't necessarily think his walk issues are back. He had some really bad walk issues before, and I think he walked about 5% of batters last year. So I don't think he's at 5, but we could see it start to trend back towards the, pre 2023 AJ Puck levels. And that is just not going to cut it as a starter. I do have faith in the Marlins, right? They know how to develop pitching. So maybe they have something there. But yeah, Puck is definitely one that I'm worried about. And he's probably one that honestly I'm not holding, depending on my roster size and everything. If I need to churn spots, he's one that I am churning very, very quickly.
Yeah, I feel you on that. So with that, let's update our league. Tell everyone what's going on in our league and best ball. Do you have a best ball update for us as well?
Yeah.
All
So
right, hit me with both of those.
I'll start with just the best ball real quick. Nothing crazy so far. I'm in sixth place with 72.5 points, and you're in eighth with 67. Don't know how much more to say for now. Obviously it's still early.
I can make that up.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of time. And then in our weekly league, I was beating you pretty bad earlier in the week, but you have certainly closed that gap. Not even the 3 home run night from Harper has really helped me. The Royce Lewis injury has killed me, but it is 5-4-1 right now. So 5-4-1. Offensive categories are pretty much at a lock. I have 1 more home run. You have 6 more runs. RBIs are within 1. Stolen bases are tied. OBPs within 30 points. So
My pitching
very,
hasn't
very
done
tight
anything
there.
yet. Like my pitching has been terrible.
Mhm.
So that's and what I was going to point out first of all, like I said earlier, the Freeman off to a hot start versus
Yeah.
Ramirez struggling. It's kind of pissing me off. It's going to piss me off all year. That's okay. The other thing is you mentioned the Harper home run. I have Bryce Harper in my main league. I told you I overpaid for him in my main league. I was rooting for him. I don't care. I was like, I know Vince is
Yeah.
killing me right now, but I need these home runs. And just seeing him, by the way, I also took a bet earlier in the year that he'd have more home runs than Mike Trout. And one night he tied him for home runs on the season. So that was pretty fun to see. The other thing is most of my leagues are in Yahoo. And then,
Sure.
Fantrax, just the interface is just so tough to get used to.
Yeah.
It's just not as good. And maybe you use it for some other reason that maybe there's more control. I'm not sure what the benefits of it are. I'm sure there's some
very,
benefit, right?
very like the league settings, the amount of adjustments that I can make for leagues, it's
intricacies,
just
I guess. Yeah.
you can't beat it. Yahoo, ESPN, they don't touch it. So that's why I do it. But
Yeah, but the interface is so it's so easy to look at things on the Yahoo and it's so good to just follow your matchup, see what's daily, what they've done on the week, where you need to get better. It's if I struggle this year with trying to figure out how I can improve on the season, it's going to be because I can't figure out the interface. That's literally the only reason.
Hey, you use me, ask me questions or whatever. I don't
I
know.
will.
There's
But so
something that you
far,
want to
I
know.
think my team's doing okay. I think offensively I'm good. Obviously, I'm struggling with relief pitching. I may need to just punt, obviously, because I have so many injuries on that side. I'm trying to figure out my other league, I'm stealing wins. I'm stealing strikeouts because I'm rotating so many starters in throughout the week. The weekly thing is throwing me off a little bit with starting pitching. So I really need to focus on having a group of however many pitchers we're allowed to use of really good top guys and get rid of everyone else and just be like, all right, these are my guys for the time being, because you can't rotate guys in and out. So that's kind of something that I have to get used to and figure out how to do better at that. I'm used to having a lot of mid-level pitchers who are not going to kill me in ERA, but I'm just going to pile up a ton of strikeouts and a ton of wins. Just keep piling it up and put relievers in there to get extra strikeouts and get holds. Can't do that in this league. So I'm going to have to figure out pitching in this league. But I like where I am offensively. And that's with some of my big names haven't really hit their full stride yet. Like you said, even, you talk about a guy like Marte, he's only played 2 games the Mets have played. And then obviously Christian Walker has been nice to start the season. He's been off to a nice start, but Nolan Jones hasn't done anything yet. I mentioned Jose Ramirez, not off to a great start yet. So there's still room for me to improve, I feel like. And yet overall my team is looking pretty good. I like where they are. Not great, but decent.
Yeah, and I like the call out that you make for the pitching because I tried to put some stock into relievers, right? Like I took Camilo Duvall, Jose Leclerc, and Hector Neris, and they have 0 saves holds between them, and
Right,
their
it's
ERAs
crazy.
are just torching me. So
Yeah.
I'm probably just going to drop. I'll hold on to Duvall, but I can't see myself holding on to Leclerc or Neris. I'm probably just punting saves and going for as many quality starts, strikeouts as I can get, and hope my ratios are there because these relievers right now are just killing me. So yeah, that's an update from our league.
That is the update on our fantasy league, and that's obviously the Sandlot League, and then also our best ball draft that we did. So before we hit your questions, the mailbag questions, we are going to go with the prospect report, sponsored by nobody. It's our favorite segment. We do it every day. So hit me with the prospect report.
The first thing I need to touch on, the first thing I need to touch on when we talk about prospects, I guess I'll do injuries first. Jordan Lawler, fractured thumb. He is a shortstop, for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I was really hoping that he was going to end up starting at the major league level, but the signing of Eugenio Suarez kind of bumped him out, and they started him at AAA, fractured his thumb. He's out at least 2 months, probably more. We're looking at maybe an August return, I think at best, maybe even September, who knows? So that's kind of a dead spot. If you were holding on to Jordan Lawler, you can probably stop. That one definitely hurts. And then the other one, Junior Caminero, he hurt his quad running to first base. And of course, he's been tearing up the level, right? He was a guy that almost made camp with Tampa Bay as well. And we hate to see injuries like this, but it looks like it's going to be mild from the report that came out today. So they're hoping it's just a minimum day on the 7-day or minimum stint, on the 7-day IL. So hopefully he's back soon because he's another one that super exciting guy. Hate to see Caminero go down. This is, though, I will jump off injuries because that just makes me sad. Rami, you need to hear this. So Norfolk.
This was, you started telling me about
the
this.
AAA team for Baltimore. Did you look it up during the episode? Have you seen? They won 26-11 tonight. Okay, right. And this
the
is
pitching sucks.
Yeah, right. No, the incredible things is what Jackson Holiday, Heston Kierstad, Kobe Mayo, all of them did, right? I mean, obviously they scored 26 runs. Let me read you some of these stat lines. So Jackson Holiday, 4 for 6, 5 runs, 2 walks. Connor Norby, 2 for 5, 3 runs, 3 RBIs. This one's phenomenal. Heston Kierstad, 5 for 7 with 10 RBIs. 10 RBIs for Heston Kierstad. What are we doing here, Baltimore? Like, what are we doing? Why is Jackson Holiday not on your team? We don't know. Yep.
That was the first mailbag question. So let me ask you that right now.
Sure.
When is Jackson Holiday getting called up?
It's got to be soon. I mean, the thing with Jackson Holiday, right, is he was always a contact guy first. And for a while, that actually kept him below Jackson Churio and Junior Caminero for me. I liked both of those guys in White Langford. I liked all of those guys over Holiday because I didn't know where Holiday's power or speed would really come from. We've seen this spring, especially in the spring, and it's translating now. He is taking a different approach. He is changing his swing to generate more loft, and it's very, very obvious. So I understand sending him to AAA, right? Make sure that swing is working. But let me tell you, Rami, it's working. Like, the only thing that could be concerned is he has 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. Obviously now I think so. He had 2 more tonight, so he's got 3 walks. So maybe it's time. I don't know when to put a timeline on it because, Jordan Westberg has looked okay, right? He had a walk-off home run the other night.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, who do you push out? I think maybe it might depend. Yeah, it could depend on an injury. We don't know, but it's got to be soon. I mean, what more does he have to prove? And if you're Baltimore, right, you want to compete, right? This is an important time. I mean, it's still early in the season. You got a long season, but you got these guys who are clearly ready. Why wouldn't you at least see if they can help you out? Yeah, I mean, look, I forgot to mention Kyle Stowers had 7 RBIs, 4 for 7 tonight. Like
Stowers.
Is it Stowers? Sorry, Stowers.
I think
Stowers.
So.
No, I think you're right. Either way, like they just, what are we doing here? So
I remember I had it was last year spring training when they all reported to camp. Heston Kierstead, Kyle Stowers. Who's the guy who's also the outfielder who's down there?
Connor Norby. He played left field tonight. I mean, Kobe
No,
Mayo's a corner infield.
Kobe
Um,
Mayo, and then there's the outfielder who's I think maybe he's on the major league team this year.
um, for Baltimore, let me look at their
One of the Orioles prospects. I don't know why I'm blanking out on this.
Colton Cowser,
Colton
guy
Cowser.
who
There
who
you
made the
go.
team. Yeah, right.
Yep. So I had never heard of any of them at this point. This is last February, and I was doing sports updates on the Baltimore radio station. It was big news. They all got invited to camp, right? All these top prospects. And I remember I had to read them over and over and over again to get the pronunciations right for all the names because I was reading them on the air the first time. I remember that day. I'm like, hey, I was doing sports updates, like anchoring sports updates for the morning show in Baltimore. It was my first time doing it for the morning show, and I'm like, it's day one of them reporting to camp, and I'm like, I can't screw this up. You know what I mean? So that's why I do think, and if I'm getting the name wrong, then it's
No,
great.
you are. I think you are right. It's Stowers. I don't know why I said
Yeah,
Stowe. I
Cal
want to say I
Stowers.
was thinking of someone else, but either way, yeah. They're ready. So
I mean, this
you
team
know,
is going to be great for a long time. And think about it. They have all this firepower. They trade some of this for pitching, whatever. Like, you can't play all these guys at once. Like, that's the thing, you know?
yeah.
And so you're not going to have these guys just sitting on your bench or sitting in the minor leagues. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. Not Jackson Holiday, rather, but uh, obviously Gunnar Henderson looks even better than he was last year, and he looks great on defensive end at shortstop. So you're not moving him off of shortstop right now, you know, like so there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and it's a good problem to have if you're the Baltimore Orioles. But if you're a fantasy owner, you might see some of these guys get traded. You might see some of these guys have to wait a little longer in the minor leagues and keep killing it in Norfolk. And I wouldn't want to face Norfolk if I was any other minor league team.
Yeah, yeah. I think, Jackson Holiday's still got a path because, I think once he figures out how to put that incredible hit tool that he has with the power that he's bringing, why would you not bring him up? I mean, he's one of the best hitters that we're going to see in our generation. So yeah, super excited for that one. Moving on in the prospect world, the next two I want to mention, if you don't have these guys in your redraft, you probably should at least, I'm assuming they might be picked up, but I just want to keep watching them because if you don't have any shares of them, get shares of them because they're going to take off. The first one is James Wood. He's only played in just a few games so far, but already 213 WRC plus. He's hitting 400. He proved in spring training like that he was clearly ready. And this is one of those like, the asterisk checks notes, right? Like he's being blocked by checks notes, Jesse Winker and Eddie Rosario. Like, no, dude, I'm sorry. Like, and I will say Washington, right? They sent him to AAA, so I don't think they're necessarily going to hold him there forever. But he's made changes to his approach. He looks great. James Wood is next year's, pop off guy that I think we can look forward to that we'll see at the end of this year, kind of like I don't know if we'll see him at the end, but I think, definitely more towards the middle of the season. Could even see him by May. We don't know. Obviously it's hard to predict, but James Wood is one you should be stashing. And then Paul Skeens is another one. I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to come up soon. He's being blocked by, I just had it up, but who are some of the names that are blocking him? Marco Gonzalez is one, right? Like, I don't think Marco Gonzalez is going to stop him. Who's the other two? Oh, Martin Perez. No. Bailey Falter. No. Like Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, fine, but none of those other three are going to stop him. Paul Skeens looked great in his first outing. 3 innings, 5 strikeouts, fastball was at 100.
Yep.
His fastball, slider, changeup. And I don't want to just put emphasis on the fastball because obviously we like seeing triple digits, but his secondaries, his slider and his changeup were also like incredible. Like they are double plus pitches. So with the Pirates,
Another guy who
now,
talked about easy 100, like it just
yeah.
looks so easy out of his hand.
And with the Pirates now, clearly, like they've started the season 5-0. Like they may have something here, right? And I know a lot of people shit on them like during the offseason. I didn't see why. I think this team is much, much improved. And if they want to win, Paul Skeens should be in that starting rotation ASAP. So,
And just wonder though, with an organization like them, like they want to wait, obviously, at least till his year of eligibility and that thing changes, because they're not going to sign him to that second contract. If anything proves us, they're going to keep him through arbitration and then try and trade him. That's what the Pittsburgh Pirates have done.
I think yes, but could the narrative on that be changing, right? We see guys who sign for long-term deals when they're younger. That way they're secure.
Yeah, great
Great.
job by the Rays. They did that with Wander Franco,
You can't throw that out there as like a reason not to, though, right? Like,
No, I know. Yeah. Can you imagine? Well, and at least we know who Paul Skeens is dating. So it's not a bit, you know what I mean? So, like,
yeah, we
we
don't
know
have
he's
to
not
worry about
Wander
that. Yeah,
Franco.
we don't have to worry about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that should be another reason why he should just be in the majors already. Is like,
By the way, it'd
he's
be
got
great for
good
marketing
motivation,
for the
right?
league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Um,
you think they showed Taylor Swift that many times at the Super
yeah,
Bowl?
right.
Can you imagine how many times Major League Baseball would be showing his girlfriend? Yeah.
So yeah, those are three guys: James Wood, Paul Skeens, Jackson Holiday, and basically the entire AAA Norfolk team. It's just Jackson Holiday is the one that has, probably the best path because he's the best one. But I also could see Kierstead getting some time. I think, in a corner outfield spot once Mullins inevitably probably goes down, right? Yeah, Kierstead was another one who's got a lot of pop. And I hope Kobe Mayo too. I really do. I like Kobe Mayo a lot. So, I mean, like you said, this team, it kind of hurts my brain thinking about how they're going to put it all together, and they're just so good. So, yeah, I'm excited for that team.
And unfortunately, they're probably going to win a World Series anyway. So
and the last one, I'm sorry, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Christian Scott. Ryan might like that I mentioned this one. Christian Scott is pitcher for the New York Mets, who should probably be picked up in almost every league, no matter what your size is, because he has tons of fantasy friendly value and could be slotted into the Mets rotation with the Trevor McGill injuries. So Tyler McGill, sorry.
Yeah, there you
go. Trevor Rogers, Tyler McGill. Yeah.
Trevor
So
May.
I don't know. Christian Scott is someone that you should pick up for sure.
Yeah, lots of Mets fans, listeners to this podcast. Shout out, because I think like my entire fantasy baseball league is Mets fans. Speaking of my entire fantasy baseball league, we have mailbag questions from everyone and anyone from around the country. You can reach out. You can text me if you know me personally. Otherwise, you can reach out social media, Instagram, Twitter, Rami_Lovey on Twitter, Rami.Lovey on Instagram. I think I said that right, or it might be the opposite. But pretty easy. RAMILAVI. It's right down there. Vince, that's his Twitter handle. You see that below if you're watching this. It's D'Amato_Vince on Twitter. You can tweet at him, or just keep commenting on our YouTube videos, which a lot of people have been doing, for your mailbag questions. And the first question I have for you is from Joseph, and he is asking, how should JD Martinez be viewed in fantasy? Told you there's a Mets bias here. Obviously, I think he's going to come up soon with the Mets. Are you looking at him as a guy who's kind of been resurgent, like a Justin Turner in Toronto, or what do you make from a roster that can't score for shit? Like, someone's got to score on that team, right? Someone's got to hit.
Yeah. I think, it'll make sense for Martinez to come up. It's, he obviously had a great year last year, right? So I'd be shocked if Beatty or Vientos is going to be the reason why he's not. Obviously, they signed him. I think he's, going to play.
Well,
for
he'll be
them.
up soon. Yeah.
Right. So, how should he be valued? Yeah, I think he's, depending on league size. I don't know if I'm rushing out to get him in 12 teams just yet, but anything bigger than a 12-team league, yeah, I mean, he probably should be grabbed, or, if you have the bench space for it, put a flyer on him, because, like you said, this team needs some offense. But I think once Lindor gets going, once Alonso, starts turning into the Alonso that we know, JD Martinez could slot right into the heart of that order. So, there's potential for him to really pick up and kind of explode. And yeah, he's definitely one, especially like I said, in the 15s that should be picked up. And 12s, if you're just a big Mets fan and you think, I'm in a 12-team league, and I'm trying to think of who my bench spot would be. I think I had Willie Castro. Yeah, I could see him being picked up over Willie Castro. Just depends on your needs, right? If you need speed, maybe hold on to a guy like Willie Castro, because he's going to bring you a lot of speed. And now no Royce Lewis, he's going to play. So yeah, JD Martinez, I think, is going to slot into the heart of a team that's only going to get better.
Can't get worse.
Good question. Yeah, unfortunately.
In our league, there was a trade that went down.
Sure.
Hunter Green for Nolan Arenado. 1-for-1. Who do you think wins that trade? And now you don't have context. You don't know what
Right.
teams are, what the other team. Nolan Arenado, Hunter Green. Go.
I mean, in a vacuum, I'm taking Arenado.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, for a few reasons, third base is hard to fill typically, right? I mean, I think there's a lot more options this year than we've seen in previous years, but yeah, I think there's just more safety with Arenado. I'm not. Look, I've bought in on Hunter Green before, and maybe I've just been burned too many times. I'm not really in on the price for Hunter Green. Like, I don't think Hunter Green right now is worth a top 150 pick, but I do think Nolan is. So I think that's where my line is.
Did you mention that Kierstead had 10 RBIs tonight?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah,
And
of the 20, well, you said 20 something runs, right?
26 runs. 26
runs. He had 10 freaking RBIs.
Isn't that insane?
Oh man, it's awesome.
And
5 hits with 10
Stowers
RBIs.
with 7
awesome.
RBIs. Like,
Yeah.
dude,
No,
come
but 10
on.
is just another level.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, so another question here. We got how will the Brewers handle the closer rotation when Williams comes back? Is it automatically just Devin Williams' job?
I mean, yeah.
Is he coming
Yeah.
back?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the ribs, it'll take a couple months, probably another couple months, and he'll ramp up.
That's
but
good. Like, again, I want to hear that. I want to hear this
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah. I think right now I'd have to double check, but I think they are seeming to lean towards Abner Uribe taking that spot. So Payamps hasn't had the best start to the season either. I think he scuffled a little bit. But yeah, there's no reason to not have Devin Williams is the best closer in baseball when he's healthy. I would say bar none, right? Edwin Diaz is another one who I thought of right away. So maybe 1A, 1B.
Well, it's definitely not Josh Hader. I mean, that gave up a 2-run home run to win the game. Boo!
What a horrible guy. Yeah. But yeah, I do think once.
Well, he also he hasn't been good this year. Hader has been bad. I mean, he gave up obviously the hits to what's his name, to Soto.
Yeah, because who wouldn't give up hits to Soto?
Apparently the Diamondbacks.
Okay, all right, you got me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would pick up Abner Uribe if you can in the meantime. But yeah, it's definitely
Teoscar Hernandez, by the way, had another RBI single. I'm so mad that I don't have any shares of Teoscar Hernandez anywhere because I was so high on him coming into the year, and it just didn't work out for me to get him anywhere. I'm gonna go watch that game and listen to John Miller on the call because that is my childhood. John Miller calling baseball games. I mean, when he was ESPN, he's still the greatest baseball play-by-play guy in my opinion. But before we wrap up, Andrew asked about Christian Yelich. Is he officially back? Andrew, listen to the beginning of the podcast. We talked about Christian Yelich a lot. He was one of my hots, so you can go back and listen to that because I want you to listen to the full episode. Andrew, be a friend, listen and share it with a friend. So that's all I got. If you have nothing else, it's been an hour, so it's not like it hasn't been long enough.
No, I'm ready to go to bed. Yeah, thanks.
No, you're not. It's
good job.
10 p.m. where you are.
Yeah, it's bedtime. I wake up early. Okay, I'm not. I mean, not compared to you. I guess that's you wake up real early.
I don't even know what early or late is anymore. All right. So until next time, please like, subscribe, share the episode with everyone and anyone. I'll be back on Monday as well as you, Sunday night, Monday morning. I think we'll record Sunday night. We can talk about this offline if you want, but yeah. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but thank you all for listening. Appreciate you all. Until next time, deuces.
Take care.